Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from the Black Hills of South Dakota. We're going to start a new series today of the Love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, starting at verse 1. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Well, I see two opposing radical views in the Christian church in regards to tongues. One view says that there are no tongues, or no more tongues. There may have been tongues, but they are no longer used in the church. And they base this on things like verse 8 that says, if there are tongues, they will cease, etc. But that also means if there's knowledge, it will also be done away. So that using that verse also indicates that there's no more knowledge. I think that is a radical view. The Bible takes time to show how tongues are to be administered in 1 Corinthians 14, what they look like in 1 Corinthians 12, and also examples of it in Acts, especially in Acts chapter 2. The other opposing radical view is that tongues are a necessity for Christians, that every Christian should or must speak in tongues if they're a real Christian, and if you don't, you're either not a Christian or not a good Christian. And I think that's equally as wrong. Again, 1 Corinthians 12 clearly says that not everyone speaks in tongues. And chapter 14 is basically trying to curtail the use of tongues in church so that it doesn't become the main focus of church. Love needs to be the main focus. And that brings us to today's verse. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love. That tells me it is possible that someone could actually speak in tongues or think they're speaking in tongues and not have love, not have that relationship with Jesus. Now, back a while back, we had a verse in Matthew 7:22, which said, "Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles?" And later we see that Jesus said, "I never knew you." We never had a love relationship. So there's a movement of chasing after signs and wonders and miracles that makes that more important than love itself. And there are false prophets out there, so just because someone prophesies doesn't make them a true Christian. Same with tongues. There are people that can speak in tongues, but that doesn't make them necessarily a Christian. I think you could put tongues in this list. Lord, Lord, didn't we speak tongues? And still they're not a Christian, and they can't understand it. Back to our main verse. It says, if I speak the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, that is so key. It's saying here, I become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Basically, I'm worthless noise if I speak tongues but have no love. Let's remind ourselves of 1 John 4:8 that says, the one who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Now, when I was doing some research for this chapter, I came across a very old sermon from the 1800s by Henry Drummond, and the title of the sermon is called "The Greatest Thing in the World." And one sentence that he says in there is, the test of religion, the final test of religion, is not religiousness, but love. And yes, speaking in tongues can look very religious, but that's not the final test. So my RV friends, let's make sure that we have that love relationship first. And if God, in His graciousness, gives us the gift of tongues, hallelujah, that's great. We'll use it for His purposes. If He decides not to give us tongues, hallelujah, that's great. He's got something else for us to do. Either way, we're going to love Him. And that's the best thing of all, because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average Retch, and I hope you have a great week.